and welcome to Voices of the West from Dusty Saddle Publishing. Today we are talking with Ash Lingam as the first of a three-part series. We're going to be looking a little bit more in depth at why he does things, why he's so massively successful and can churn things out in record time beyond just about anybody else out there that's writing. Ash, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for having me. It's a pleasure. And I'm not Flash Gordon. I have a little fast fingers.
That's always a good thing, though. If you have a fast word count, that always helps for writing.
Yeah.
So how would you describe yourself?
A little bit fiddle-footed from when I was a kid. I grew up in the south of Ohio, or north of the Ohio River, about 20 minutes down I-75. And I grew up on a farm with lots of animals. The farms back then were a country block big, so your next neighbor was several miles away. But on my own, I rode through the woods and started hunting at 12, started trapping at 8. And I kind of lived a life of some of the things that I did as a kid. And then I moved to Florida, and then as an adventure, I moved to Florida for work and the family, what you following work around. And then when we had a recession in Florida, I went abroad, and for adventure, I ended up living in 11 countries and working in 46.
That's quite the amount of range. So you got a good background to that. What draws you to particularly doing Westerns?
Everything. All the TV series when I was a kid. When my mother would punish me for doing something wrong, she would not allow me to see Bonanza for the week. I grew up with Gunsmoke, with Wanted Dead or Alive, and all those things. And through the years, I as well as I became a teenager, I watched the Clint Eastwood movies and all the Sergio Leone movies and read everything I could get my hands on. And it's part of our heritage. When I was a kid, we used to plow the fields and go through them and find Indian arrowheads from the Miami Indians. I actually have a distant uncle that was shot and murdered in a saloon. He was a Miami Indian. So we've got a background. My family came to America in the early 1700s. So family-wise, we've really been through the whole thing.
Indeed, definitely part of the entire history of the U.S. as it goes that way.
Mhm.
What do you think makes a good Western?
Oh, yeah, it takes a lot, actually. You have to have lots of action. I think Westerns are the most action-demanding movies, along with maybe like Pulp Fiction type things or that. But all of our Westerns are shoot 'em up. You have to have very good characters, believable characters, and characters that people believe they can know. They get to know as they read the book. So as they evolve, the readers evolve too. So everybody's on the same page. You need a happy ending. Western readers do not like a happy ending. They don't like cliffhangers, which creates a little bit of a challenge when you do series, because when you write in a 10 or 12 or 15 book series, you have to make sure that they're still standalone readable. So they can't come up with lots of surprises.
With a Western, what comes first, the plot or the characters for you writing?
For me, the name comes first. I don't plot anything ever, nothing. I do no plotting, I do no outline, I do no hit storyboards. I start with a few names, and the names will eventually, whenever I'm watching TV, reading, whatever I'm doing, walking, meeting people, I'll pick up names. And Sling Dolan was one. Levi Johnson was one. Rusty Steele was one. And immediately the personalities and their physique starts to formulate in my mind, and then I start writing. And then I might have an idea. I usually try to start with something action-packed. It might even be a chapter from somewhere in the middle of the book, I'm not sure. But then it goes from there. But it's always the characters first. And the plot, until I'm about 20,000 words into the story, I really have no idea what the plot is. I think maybe it's in the back of my mind, and it just comes out on its own. Because I've had times where I've gotten stuck. A few books ago, I wrote a book about mountain men, and at the very end of the book, the Major Forrester was the character. He was supposed to be a really good person, a West Point major, and he turned out to be extremely violent murderer, Indian killer. And it shocked me. So of course it shocked the readers. The readers wrote me and said, "What? What'd you do?" It was great, but it shocked the hell out of me. But it shocked me too. I didn't know it was going to happen. I was up to the last chapter before I knew it was going to happen.
So, what is your favorite part in making a story?
The last 3, 4 chapters, when I get to tie it together, it's the most challenging part of the story, of course, because it's got to be comprehensive. And then you take all the elements that have come, and sometimes, like I might start a plot and subplots, maybe 2 or 3 subplots will come by themselves and move from one place or another. And I really don't know where they're going until I get to the end. And then I have to mentally figure out how they tie in. And then once they tie in, they'll finish the story. And that's my pleasure. That's where, because then I get to know what happened. I'm just like the reader. I don't know what happened until I tie that in, and then the last I'll go, wow. I've even had a tear come out of my eye occasionally. I know it's overreacting, but we put a lot more into this than people think. A lot of people think, oh, they just sit there and type, but there's a lot that comes out of you. It has to be in there. You can't buy it. You can't learn it. You have to have it. It has to be there before you start.
So that kind of begs the question a little bit: does writing energize you or exhaust you?
Both, because I'm a speed writer, and that's not intentionally. It's just because, first of all, I type about 70 words a minute, and the story comes out of me so fast that I'm writing so fast that I'm making typos everywhere, and that is energizing until you get to about the 3rd book, because I might speed write for 2 books and maybe 3. It depends on how things keep coming out of me. Because if you write a chapter or the first book, book number 9, and book number 10 is waiting there to come out of you, you'll go ahead and write number 10. So it's that part at the end of the 3 books, then you're exhausted. Then you need a few days off.
So, what would you say would be the most valuable writing advice you could give to a new writer?
Due diligence. It's a terribly disappointing experience in the beginning, because most people don't give you the credit that you've made the effort. When I started writing, I took about 7 years to write my first book. And I don't consider that when I was writing. I'm just going back before writing, we'll say. And I showed that first book to my son. My son's doctor of neurology, doctor of microbiology, and has a master's degree in psychology, so he's a brain. And he read it and he said, "Dad, pick a new profession." And I got angry with him, and that made me want to do it more. And then the bad reviews come, which slaughter you. When you're beginning, you have thin skin, and you think, oh my God, they don't like it. And there's always somebody that doesn't like it. You just have to learn that. What I would tell a new writer, ignore everything. You got 1,000,000 words to go before you're going to get it anywhere. So just start writing and start writing and start writing, and it will happen. If it's supposed to happen, if you have it in there, it'll happen. But don't expect anything too soon. The more you expect it, the less it'll come, and it has to come by surprise. To me, it came by total surprise.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking time today. We'll be starting up with a 2nd chapter of this coming up in a couple of days. So,
Great, I'll be looking
Ash, thank you
forward to
very
it.
much.
Sure, man. Thank you. It's a pleasure.